Much happened after the Supreme Court nullification of the August re-election of President Uhuru Kenyatta, but the IEBC apparently is in profound mess and only has 2 commissioners and a chairman following the resignation of the vice chair and 3 other commissioners. To just also top on that is the resignation of Roslyn Akombe, who fled the country days towards the repeat presidential elections. And the general consensus across the board is that the current IEBC needs reconstitution. Considering what the uphill task before the commission, the by-elections. Number 1, first question, is there a legality for the commission without a quorum to conduct the by-elections? 2, looking at it from the political perspective too and the general consensus of the public, is it a perfectly manageable situation to have a new IEBC at the helm going forward to 2022 and beyond?
The IEBC, as soon as those people were somehow spewed out from the IEBC selection panel, they were already making excuses as to how they were going to have a lot of problems holding credible elections. If you read Roslyn Akombe's end of assignment report, which is hard to find, but it's dated 30 October 2017, she indicates, possibly very much self-serving, because she was standing next to Chebukati the whole time, until she ran away, that the IEBC really had not been prepared to hold elections on the 8th of August. We now have a situation where the chief executive is supposedly sitting at home, although now he's featuring on the media, because he was suspended.
Trying to cleanse himself.
I don't know what he's trying to do. He seems to believe he should still be there because the Secretariat never gave up any information to the new chair or the commissioners. And actually, the commissioners and the chair were in thrall to the Secretariat, Ezra Chiloba. But he was sent home on alleged procurement fraud. So, you know, again, that's the same building with the Office of the Attorney General, which might want to take a look at a $600 million election that was botched. I think that if you look at the basic law, they are not properly constituted. The fact that they say they are doesn't make it so. What we need to do is, now that we have a handshake, now that we have building bridges, is to come up with an idea where a caretaker executive chair can be appointed with 2 or 4 commissioners for a single 3-year term, that with the mandate of reorganizing, cleansing, renewing, and also finding the next substantive commission to take the country through the elections. Now, this will not be in the Constitution. Again, we seem to have tied ourselves up in knots with all these regulations and laws, and I'm not saying we should amend the Constitution. I think Third Way wants to do some of that. Because you have to ask yourself, do we even have an IEBC that can preside over a referendum of any sort? No, we do not. I suggest that nobody believes that those people, those 3 remaining survivors there, can run anything. Much by-elections, you know, we have seen, this is painful for me, obviously, and I've declared my interest. But this makes no sense after 37 years to have this country heading, you know, there's no light at the end of the tunnel that's not an onrushing train. And the fact that we seem to be able to go on and on with arguing over, we are still arguing over whether the 3 commissioners, the deputy chair, Connie Maina, and the other 2.
Paul Kurugat and Margaret Mochanya.
We are still arguing over whether they actually resigned, because did their letter actually get to the head of state, or did it get to the chair? When I read through Roslyn Akombe's report, I was staggered by some of the memos that she had appended to it that were not shown as being received. There is so much doubt that, in fact, anything those people do, anything they do from this point, actually, anything they did from August 11th of 2017 should have been suspect. And it doesn't make it does no one any good to sugarcoat the situation that we're in. We do not have a legally constituted, competent electoral management board.
I was just giving an example of how we arrived into the elections being not credible. And you know, you must always have that election that can satisfy the public interest. Where is the confidence of the public today? As the IEBC is constituted, do you see anything beyond some unmitigated failure It's there because the IEBC chairperson with the remaining, I don't know, there are two,
Yeah.
right?
Boyamolo and
Now, do you know, first of all, I mean, it will be a waste of public money to go and do a by-election. Because if it is challenged in any given court of law, then we will actually be, we could have wasted that money. Two, we are not meeting the gender rule as per the IEBC is constituted today. We are violating so many of the IEBC acts and also the electoral laws. So if we go on the way the IEBC is, I think we are going to mess ourselves up. And it is high time because even up to now, as we are speaking, it is unknown to Kenyans that what was really within the servers. Because we could have done the postmortem immediately after the elections. And then we tell Kenyans, this is what happened. This is where we failed. This is what we are going to do. This is how we can improve. But you cannot have yourself very silent where you are. Problems occurred. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to take responsibility. Okay? We just put blames left, right, and center. We cannot dismiss what is very pertinent to Kenyans.
Okay.
And it is high time now, these by-elections, we need actually, I'll agree with Andrew, we need to form an ad hoc committee that can actually have the process of IEBC maybe through a period of maybe even 2 years or 3 years, okay, while they are reorganizing how we can appoint these commissioners in the right way.
Okay.
And it is high time now, again, people actually, if you are not fit for an office, don't apply. Because somebody like Chebukati, I don't know why that guy is there. People like, Chiloba, I don't know why we still have them smiling in televisions for nothing, when they cannot even explain simple things. How do you lose your your ICT manager, and you put it like it's a normal thing? That is not a drunkard who was just kicked by a donkey. It is high time now Kenyans will take this very serious.
And of course, it was a crucial part. Probably what has sent fears down the spine of the people or the political class for that matter, because they were contesting for the different seats or respective seats, was the fact that Msando made it clear in front of also election observers from the international community that the elections will not be botched, ensuring that the setup of the ICT for the IEBC was so secure, and he made the Kenyan public, there was the sense of assuring the Kenyan public of free, fair and transparent elections, but unfortunately we lost him. Frederick Okango, I'll come to you on this. Zachas Chesoni, Samuel Kivutu, Isaac Hassan, Wafula Chebukati have one thing in common. All the elections that they presided over culminated in violence or dissatisfaction from one section of the public. Considering what Chebukati is telling us, is his language helpful compared to what happened? Because thousands, hundreds of Kenyans were lost, according to a report by the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, as a price for democracy. They demonstrated what they say was an unfair election, and the Supreme Court vindicated them. It was true. The elections were marred by irregularities and illegalities. Is what Wafula Chebukati is telling us helpful to the cause of getting free, fair, credible elections going forward to 2022 and beyond?
Ayub, you know, I want us to be honest with ourselves. We were part of the participants in the last election, and to be specific, in the presidential election. So I was right in the middle of things. And I remember I was writing letters to Chebukati, several of them, and his response could tell you what my colleagues are saying here. Now, number two, IEBC, under Article 89, and this is what the law says, it shall conduct its powers within the Constitution and legislation. And that legislation is IEBC Act. If you go to IEBC Act, let's start from what Karl Marx was saying. Is it fully constituted? Okay? You know, the Constitution under Article 252 says all those commissions shall have at least 3 commissioners at any time,
to make a call.
Not more than 9, but at least 3. There are 3 currently. So, on the look of things, they are constitutionally constituted. But again, they shall also elect a deputy chairperson who shall not be of the same gender. So today, we don't have a deputy chairperson who is not of the same gender. Again, look at the matrix there. Now, when the chairperson, deputy chairperson is allegedly resigned,
Consolata
Nkatha and the team resigned, the Act under Section 7 says they shall do so in writing to the President. And within 7 days, the President shall do a Gazette notice to start the recruitment immediately. Okay? To date, No one has seen a resignation letter, as Andrew puts it. So we don't know whether they resigned or they did not resign. But the most important thing is IEBC has been a political tool in this country for a very long time. We have seen before when Kenyans demonstrated, a section of Kenyans, a political class, demonstrated to take IEBC out. Isaac Asante, you remember?
Yeah.
And that brought a lot of issues. That's how Chibukati came in. Now, our politics has not been the best, and we must agree. Because when we win election, or we lose election, there must be a winner and a loser. A loser will always complain that IEBC is bad. A winner will always commend IEBC for a good job. In any election, there's a winner and a loser. But how do we converge? And this is what I would recommend. First of all, I don't understand why IEBC commissioners are working on a full-time job, part-time job. I don't understand. They shouldn't, because the constitution says can be part-time or full-time. But in their own regulation and rules, IEBC made it that they are full-time. That, again, is wasting of money. They should be on part-time. Number two, the IEBC commissioners, for them to ensure that we have a proper election in the next election year, the recruitment should start 6 months before the election. I think that should be changed. We should start 5 years before the election, so that we have a credible and an election body that can win public confidence. Today, Kenya has a perfect opportunity to recruit a proper IEBC. The IEBC that is existing today, I can say, and this is why I'll differ with my colleagues, they can conduct an election. You know why? It is not the job of the commissioners and the chairman to conduct elections. No. The job of the commissioners is to do strategy and policies, which is implemented by the secretariat, headed by a secretary. And unfortunately today, we don't have a secretary. But the secretariat is there, so it will conduct those by-elections. That is the law.
Do we have a leaderless secretariat, in other
We
words?
don't have a leaderless secretary. What the Act says, in the absence of a secretary, one of the secretariat, directorate, or members shall be nominated to act in that capacity. And that's what they're doing now. There's somebody acting in the capacity of Chiloba. Now, when IEBC formulates strategy and policy, and then pass it to the secretariat, headed by the secretary, who was Chiloba then, to implement, and that includes, you know, continuous voter registration, conducting by-election and election. How do we now ensure that this team is fully functional? And that's where my friend Andrew has a problem. Because you see, you might be acting, but it is not functionally, functionally effective. So I agree, even though my argument is different, I agree that as it is today, there will be still doubts in any of the activities they do. In fact, I have seen by-elections that have been done before, and people say this was proper. While in the presidential election, in the parliamentary election, they disapproved it. So also the political class, they should stop shifting goalposts. If we agree as Kenyans that IEBC is not properly constituted and constitutionally it is not, then let us disband IEBC and have a proper IEBC in place.